Welcome, I'm the Gothic Librarian. Take a seat and let's begin. When I was growing up, my family and I lived in an apartment complex. My sister was 12 and I was 9. There was a young family that lived directly above us with one little girl. One day, my sister and I were playing outside and we noticed a man on the balcony above us, staring at my sister and smiling, almost grinning. He was in his mid-20s and completely average looking. I, always being the outspoken one, looked up at him and said, "Hi, who are you?" I knew the family and had never seen him before. He just chuckled and said, "A friend," and walked back into the apartment. I was always playing outside and hardly ever saw him. The only times he would come out was when my sister would come out and play with me. One day we were playing outside, late in the day, when we smelled cigarette smoke. We started looking around and saw the man standing in the dark corner of the balcony. He again was just watching my sister. I then asked him again, "Who are you?" He gave us the most sadistic look I have ever seen and walked back inside. That night, I told my mom about the new man who lived upstairs and how he would stare at us. The next day, my mom went and spoke to the lady who lived there. She told my mom they were letting her husband's friend and brother stay with them until they could find a place of their own. My mom expressed that we were feeling uncomfortable playing outside because the guy would come out and look at us. The lady said it was completely harmless and that we shouldn't worry about it. Months went by, and the same thing. My sister would come out and immediately he would be on the balcony. One day, he came downstairs and tried to play ball with me. He asked me how old we were and what school we went to. He then asked me if my sister got home before me. I told him I was telling my mom and he laughed. I looked up and noticed his friend was standing on the balcony. They both looked at each other and smirked. I started calling for my mom and the guy left. My mom came outside and I told her the guy was bugging me again. She went back upstairs, but this time the lady said she was waiting for her husband to get back because she was going to ask them to leave. The next day, some cops showed up to our apartment and wanted to ask my sister and I some questions. Apparently, when the man left, the lady found pictures of my sister all over the room. They also found underwear, which did not belong to us, in the room. The lady was afraid that they might have done some bad things to her little girl and called the cops. I don't know what happened because we moved shortly after that. But creepy pervert upstairs, let's not meet again. This happened 2 months ago. I lived in a 2-room apartment space in a subdivision/village. The previous owner of the space is a personal friend of mine who was out during one of his business travels, also because his lease was up and he was planning to move anyway. During the last month of his contract of the apartment, he let me stay and be the caretaker of the space because he still had some important stuff like papers and files in it, and I was looking for a place to stay in the area because of my new job. Nothing really happened in the first week. The other tenants were nice. I talked with them when we met on the way out or when I was hanging laundry. I even made a connection with the girl I liked 2 rooms from mine, so I felt fine and safe. My friend, by the way, had 3 CCTV cameras installed. My friend is a super paranoid guy because of his job, each one pointing at a specific direction. One facing the gate and the recreation area where tenants can sit or smoke or chill or whatever, another facing the outside door of the apartment rooms, and the last one facing the side of the building because there is a back door and my room was on the side of the building too. One day I played the footage as I ate my breakfast, nothing out of the ordinary, Just a couple of stray cats and some of the tenants going out the back door during late hours because some of them work graveyard shifts. I forwarded a bit and on 3 a.m. some person came in and stopped. He just suddenly stopped and stood still in the middle of the walkway. This woke me up pretty hard as I watched, because I really am not a morning person. I forwarded a bit to see if he was just drunk or high, who might have entered the wrong building, or if he was planning to rob or case the place, but he didn't do anything. He just stood there for almost an hour. Then I realized he was standing just outside my room window. My blinds were open that time because it was hot. Note, I was the only person on this side of the apartment who had their blinds open. So this guy was watching me while asleep. I got scared watching this because I was alone that time. When my friend came back, he was shocked when he saw the footage. I also told the landlord and they called some police to do some investigation. They never found the guy, and the police said he didn't do anything serious, trespassing, but nothing major. Still, this incident makes me uneasy every time I sleep at night. By the end of the month, my friend's lease was up, and I moved out to another apartment that I share, thankfully, with another friend of mine. This one is more secure because it has 2 guard dogs. Until now, I still am very paranoid when I sleep in a room with a window in it. Some dude was watching me sleep through my room window at 3 a.m. in the morning. So, let's not meet again. For some brief background, I'm an 18-year-old male, and this encounter occurred when I was around 13. Every year, when the 4th of July rolls around, me and my family would go to a friend's house to celebrate. The friend and his family are quite wealthy, and they live in a large house about half a mile into the woods. The 4th of July parties at their house were always huge events with around 15-20 families attending. The younger people at the parties were either around my age or high school age. I typically hang out with my friend Gavin and his sister Trina, who I had a huge crush on at the time, who were the kids of the family friend that owned the house. On this particular 4th of July, the older kids decided they wanted to go out into the woods, and of course all the younger kids wanted to go too, me included. Keith, one of the older kids, agreed to us tagging along under the condition that we wouldn't chicken out and run away. All of the younger kids agreed, and the whole group journeyed into the woods. Keith was leading us down a trail to a nearby pond when Trina grabbed my hand. 13-year-old me turned a bit red in the darkness, but I could also tell something was wrong. "There's someone in the woods. I just saw him. He's a big man." She pointed out into the trees, but I didn't see anything. I squeezed her hand tightly and told her that she was just seeing things. Trina had always been the sort to scare easily, and I thought nothing of it. The group finally made it to the pond. We only had one flashlight with us, but by this time everyone's eyes had adjusted to the blackness of the woods. We all sat around talking and goofing off. We occasionally heard sounds in the woods, but we just figured it was the local deer population. Most of us are children of deer hunters, and the area was near our dad's hunting land. Eventually everyone settled down, and Keith started telling us a scary story. It was something about kids getting lost in the woods. Nice one, Keith. As the story continued, Tina's grip on my hand got tighter and tighter. She was practically shaking when one of Keith's friends tossed a log into the pond right at the story's climax. Everyone jumped and screamed, and eventually we all started laughing at how scared we got. Suddenly, another distinct laugh joined ours. It was a deep, throaty chuckle that echoed off the empty space around the pond. We all stopped laughing and sat in silence. I looked around and my eyes locked onto a large black mass that could only be human, standing at the edge of the woods around the pond. "That was a good one. You even startled me," said the mass. The voice sounded similar to the chuckle from before. The air seemed to freeze, and for what seemed like eternity, no one moved. It felt like Trina was trying to shatter the bones in my hand. Suddenly, as if time had started again, we all scrambled up and ran. We ran as fast and as hard as we could, but it didn't seem fast enough. I could hear the heavy footfalls behind our group, heavier than any of us could produce. The man was following us. After what seemed like hours, we all exited the woods and ran into the brightly lit driveway. We watched the edge of the woods while Keith did a head count. Trina swears to this day that she saw the man standing at the edge of the woods, watching us, before turning back and walking away. This remains one of the scariest experiences in my life. I like to tell myself that the man was just passing by and had no ill intentions, but why did he chase after us? If he was the one who Trina saw on the way to the pond, why did he follow us there? I'll never know his intention, or why he was there. So, chuckling tripsman, let's not meet again. Thank you for showing up at the Gothic Library. I will see you at my next reading.